Hello everyone, and welcome to my second devlog of my game Yokai Masquerade Hidden in Flesh. So far, I'm still working on the basic mechanics of NPC getting spawned at the door and you interacting with them and talking to them and them entering. So let me play to show you what I have. Okay, so I created this one interactable door, so you have to hold down E and the door opens. Oof. There, and you can close it. And I also set up in the game mode blueprint to have NPC gets spawned near the gate, because the game consists of people coming to the gate and you answer the door and then you talk to them. So yeah, so set up this thing where when you interact with a gate, it starts a dialogue with the NPC that was spawned, if it's the correct gate. Yeah, so my next steps would be to have the NPC either leave if the player tells him to leave, or to come in and go to a specified location, which I will specify using a target point. Another thing that I've worked on is, I created this one interface called the world object interface. And what that interface is meant for is letting... Okay, there it is. So it has this thing called event setup, and it binds to the message to objects delegate from the game mode. So when it's daytime or nighttime, or like visitor spawns or something, I can send a message to every single actor in the game that has this interface. And you see here I have an event for receiving messages from game mode, and I just switch on string, and I gave the option to pass additional instructions aside from just like the command name. Like say current gate, I want to have more than one gate, so I can specify whether it's gate A or gate B. And then here, when the player interacts, it determines what kind of interactable it is. And if it's gate A, then it checks if that's the current gate, the gate which the NPC is spawned at. And if it is the correct one, then it starts dialogue. And this sets the current visitor, and this is used to start dialogue, other actor, and you just know what it is. The gate master blueprint also uses this interface here, but it has like slightly different applications for it. And as you can see here, after begin play starts, I just spawn visitor automatically, but later on, of course, after I'm done testing things, I'm gonna only spawn them like at nighttime and like intervals. Okay, so if the player lets the visitor in, then I add them to the current visitors array and also add them to the visited array, so that I don't spawn duplicates of the same NPC. Now this part, I didn't create it this week, but I didn't talk about it in my last devlog, so I'm gonna mention it now. In C++, I created some enums. This enum, this is for the conversation types. I am using a dialogue plugin, but it only has like specific dialogues. You see there's like a dialogue tree and stuff, right? But for my game, I need to have like multiple different dialogues, so I needed to create a conversation system in order to manage the switching of those conversations. So right now I have the visitor in the visitor blueprint. The visitor door dialogue is set automatically once like the visitor is like begin played or whatever. And it says the behind door because all the visitors, they start out behind the door and outside of the temple. But later on, all the other dialogues will be, I'll have to manage them from the game mode because the game mode will need to decide like, oh, what time it is. There are some dialogues that involve more than one character, so the game mode needs to check for that. So that's why I can't have all the dialogue and the conversations just be managed by the visitor blueprint. I think that'll get too chaotic. Yeah, so for my conversation, I have an enum that determines like, oh, which kind of conversation it is. Is it behind the door? Is it when they come inside? Is it their daily conversation? Or is it an event? A special conversation that happens when something happens that is triggered by the player. Oh yeah, this is my NPC type. Right now I have human and a monojaku, which is the yokai, the monsters of my game, and the player needs to is trying to figure out which of the NPCs are human or these kinds of monsters. I have conversation type, dialogue participants, and prerequisite conversations. So before setting a conversation, I'll have to check if it has any prerequisites. Another thing that I was working on this week is the Heian era Japanese Buddhist Temple generator that I need to make for my game. So I did some research on a bunch of different temples. The main temple that I want the temple in my game to be based on is the Koyasan temple complex. But I have lots of other temples references that were like built in similar time period in like a similar architectural style, because the problem with Koyasan temple is that some are like reconstructions and they're not necessarily, it's not necessarily the best example of how the temples actually were at the time of the Heian period. And the first building that I decided to make in my temple generator, like it's going to be able to make all kinds of buildings, but I decided to start with this one because it has like all the different elements that all my different buildings might have. Okay, so this here is my building generator so far, and I think it'll be easier for you to understand it if you look at it sideways, because here's the reference. Japanese buildings, a lot of them, they have this like central room called the moyu, and that is what this main building generator part, like this box here, is meant to be imitating. But some Japanese buildings have this corridor around 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, however many of the buildings, called hisashi, I believe. Yeah, hisashi. So that's what that part is meant to be replicating. And a lot of Japanese buildings, they have this like bigger part that isn't actually a floor, but it's just like a roof support thing. And that's what this extended building thing is for. I created this one point wrangle that allows the tilt, that alters the tilt of the roof. I think I'm definitely gonna have to adjust that a bit because this part here doesn't look too good. I like how this one is like increases incrementally, but this one does not. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to fix that. But yeah, obviously this is just a block out. I'm gonna be later using this like block out of the basic shapes. and use it to then generate points, and then just copy to points the different modular geometry that I will have. So for example, these points here, I can copy to points a bunch of, the posts that it has here, and I can find the location of the middle of this face and then copy to points the different panels and what have you. Now, one critique that my prof gave me is to make each like floor its own like kind of HDA. So I think what I'm gonna do next is see how I kind of have this like extended building and like Hisashi building thing to like all together. I think I'm gonna separate them more from each other and work on them more individually. Oh yeah, I think the most important part of it so far was trying to figure out how to do the roof, because I'm gonna have to copy to points the different tiles, right? And this like hip and gable roof was pretty hard to figure out how to do, so I'm gonna just keep on working on that.